Randle and Gaither have worked together for years before Randle says anything bad about him. Gaither is known for having a strong stage presence and a deep voice, while Randle is known for having a deep voice and giving performances that move people. But things didn't go as planned when these two famous musicians got together. What you're about to read will shock you about how Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle lived together behind the scenes. Both of them were new to the music business when they started their journey. The two of them had no idea how much their relationship would change things. For a long time they played music and made their own sounds. In the early 2000s they met. Gaither was already well known in smaller groups because of his soulful, deep voice and friendly personality. Many people really liked him and stuck with him. Randle, on the other hand, was getting more liked for her powerful shows that mixed gospel, blues, and soul in a way that kept people interested. Gaither and Lynda Randle used to get along great. Their music was magical, and whether they were on stage or not, they worked together like a team. There was no doubt about it from the very first time they played together. Over the years, they did more than just work on music together. They became friends and trusted each other. People in the business looked up to them and their fans loved them. In the world of show business, though, anything can happen at any time. In that moment, Gaither didn't even notice it, but it would change his life for years to come. It started out quietly, a few small changes that no one found important at first. Gaither began to pull away from them. He used to be known for being easygoing and fun. He wasn't as excited to talk to fans after shows. His smile, which used to be very bright, showed up less often. Personally, he began to lose touch with Lynda, which was something he always did. An awful lot of things were changing, and Lynda tried to hide them by saying it was because they were so busy. But over time, people who knew him well saw that something more serious was going on. Gaither had always kept to himself, but he seemed to be pulling away from everyone even more, to the point where it was hard to tell who he was. She stayed by his side because she was always there for him, but she could tell that things were different. The people on their team talked about how Gaither wasn't ready to face his personal problems. Others thought that the stress of being famous might be making them sick. There was something different about Gaither that no one could quite explain. He was changing in a big way, and they all knew it. Then it all came to a head during a live show one bad night. No one could have seen what the crowd saw coming. In the middle of a set, Gaither did something out of the ordinary. He kissed another guy on stage. This shocked everyone. People responded right away to that short but powerful moment. People in the crowd couldn't say anything because they didn't know what to say. People laughed and cheered, but some couldn't say anything. Lisa didn't move. She looked like she didn't know what to do. She wasn't sure if she should keep singing, talk about what had happened, or leave the stage right away to talk to Gaither. The mood had changed, and you could feel the stress even though the music kept playing. After the show, Gaither quickly went downstairs, leaving Lynda to talk to the press. The team tried to figure out what to do during a strange silence that followed. After seeing the kiss, a lot of reporters came up to Lynda and asked to speak with her. She didn't have one. "I have no idea what happened tonight. I need to think about this," she said. She was so shocked, confused, and upset that she couldn't find the words. But she knew this wasn't going to go away by itself. Something big was going to change everything. Right away, the news picked up the story. The shocking event was all over the news, and people tried to figure out what Gaither's personal life was like by calling it a scandal. No one knew what to say, though. Different news sources disagreed on whether it was a real event or just a publicity stunt. There were also people who said it was a sign of deep problems Gaither had been having behind closed doors. It didn't help that Gaither wouldn't say anything about what happened in public. No comments, interviews, or sorry were made. It was very quiet. Fans who used to talk to him on social media were not told what was going on. Lynda was also left by herself. She didn't understand what had happened. Why did Gaither do what he did? She had no idea. She might not have known everything about his life. For now, all she could do was be there for him. After a few weeks, though, there was an odd quiet. Lena reached out to Gaither, but he didn't move. She thought he was moving away from her because he didn't seem like the same man she had worked with for a long time. There was more stress in the field. Some fans were even mad, and they wanted to know what was going on. Thoughts and stories kept coming up. Was it the start of a bigger identity crisis? Was he just tired of being watched, or did he do something else that no one knew about? They talked about it all the time and looked at it from every angle. As always, some people even thought Gaither might no longer be able to sing. It looked like everything was set up for something that could ruin a reputation that had been built up for years. Lynda felt bad about what she did. She thought she was seeing Gaither fall apart right in front of her eyes. He had gone from being unknown to a big star. She knew something had to give, but she wasn't sure what. She had always been there for him, through good times and bad, but this was different. It wasn't just music anymore. No one could fully grasp what Gaither's trip was all about. Between Lynda and Gaither, things slowly got worse over the next few months after that. They stopped going out in public more and more often and talked to each other less and less. The relationship between Gaither and Lynda was tense after being smooth for a while. Lynda couldn't help but wonder if she had missed all the signs that Gaither was having trouble. Did he have something to say to her, or was he just thinking about himself and wasn't ready to share it? Gaither, on the other hand, didn't say anything and still wouldn't speak out in public. He was no longer seen by anyone, and for a while it looked like the end of his career. Fans who were once excited to back him up were now filled with doubts. How did this change happen so fast? That's why he went into such sensitive areas. What would happen to him next? Gaither's life and work changed a lot after he kissed the woman on stage. Press and fans kept guessing, but they could never find out the truth. Things would never be the same again. That much was certain. It was up to people in the music business and those who had helped him to pick up the pieces. Gaither might never be the same again, and they didn't know if this event would have an effect on his career to last. It was just another night at first. There was a show on a different stage with lots of bright lights and excited people, but Gaither was ready to put on the best show he could for the crowd, as he always does. The beat of the music was strong when it started. He had done it a million times before. When he took the mic, his charm lit up the room and his voice rang out like it were its own instrument. Lynda Randle, his friend, was with him. She was always with him, and her voice matched his, making the magic that had been the foundation of their relationship for years. But that night was different in some way. Gaither did something that no one saw coming when the song was at its best. In the middle of the song, as the music was building up to its peak, he leaned over and kissed another man right there on stage. The kiss was short but strong. It wasn't part of the dance and wasn't planned or practiced. What I did was honest, not planned, and very close to home. The crowd answered right away, but it was tough to say how they really felt. Some people were so shocked that they couldn't say a word, while others cheered. There was a part of the performance that didn't go with what else was going on. Lena was the first person to notice what was going on as she stood next to Gaither. She was shocked and her face went blank for a second. There were many great things Gaither had done on stage, such as strong acts, dramatic gestures, and times when he connected with the crowd. But this was the first time she had seen anything like it. It wasn't easy for her to stay calm and keep singing with the same spark as the song went on. The stress was clear in the air. She watched the show even though she had a lot of questions. It was no longer just the music. No one in the crowd or on stage could fully grasp what had changed. The kiss was short, but it would leave a mark that would last for a long time. It felt like time had stopped at that very moment, and the mood in the room changed from pleasant to odd. Gaither pulled away as the song's last notes rang out, but he didn't say why or show any background. He then just left the stage, leaving Lynda and the team to figure out what had happened. People weren't sure if they should stick with him or not. Since everyone on stage was quiet, Lynda did the only thing she could think of. She finished the song. Behind the scenes, things were a mess. The sudden event threw off the band, which was usually very in tune. The people on the team and the roadies were all tense because they didn't know what to say or do. It was clear that none of the big things that were going to happen could be stopped. But what? No one knew. No one, not even Lynda, who had worked with Gaither for years and gone on many trips, laughed and celebrated many wins with him, saw it coming. The way they were talking to each other changed in an instant. The news picked up on the kiss almost right away. On social media, people had a lot of thoughts, questions, and ideas. Fans sent each other videos of the event and watched them over and over. Some people were happy for them, some didn't understand, and some were really mad. Was this a message, an admission of something personal, or just a way to get people to buy something? It looked like there were many choices, but it was clear that Gaither had done something wrong. There wasn't a line on stage, but there was one in his work, in his personal life, and in how he had become who he was over the years. His and everyone else's lives were turned upside down by this one kiss. What came next was a blur for Lynda. She couldn't figure out what had happened. Even though she had known Gaither for years, she felt like she was meeting him for the first time. She wasn't sure if what she saw was good or bad. She wasn't ready to face what she learned from the kiss. What did it mean? Was it a sign of something more important? Had she been missing something for so long? She had a lot of questions, but she could never figure out the answers. The press would keep asking questions, fans would want answers, and people in the music business would be very interested. But what could she say? What could she do? Gaither kisses man on stage. Fans are stunned by the moment, and the kiss that rocked the music world were all over the news the next day. Every piece had a guess on it, and they all came up with different ideas. As a sign of defiance and freedom, that's how some saw it. It seemed shocking to some because it went against the image he had worked so hard to build. Everyone in the media was always watching him and writing about everything he did. The days after that, Gaither didn't say anything. That's all he said about the kiss and the comment. He also didn't talk to the reporters in any way. His silence said a lot, but it also left a hole that no one could fill. Lynda did not know what was going on either. When she tried to talk to Gaither, he seemed farther away and less willing to listen than ever. She didn't know how to talk to him. What could she say? How could someone talk when something so strange takes place? He and she had worked together for years and had both won and lost together. She thought she was going to lose him now. She didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, but she could tell he was different. The fact that the man she had worked with and known turned into a stranger broke her heart. After that, there was a lot of stress. The tour kept going, but there was no longer any chemistry on stage. Lynda could feel it every time they did it. They couldn't see a wall between them, and neither of them knew how to get through it. Fans didn't give up, but the mysteries were still unsolved. What did Gaither do? Did you decide on the spot, or did you have a reason? What did it mean for their jobs, their futures, and Lynda's? The silence was a punishment for them. People and reporters were both going to find him no matter what. I made a mistake. I don't know what came over me. I'm sorry for the confusion and the hurt I've caused. But it didn't feel real. It didn't answer all of our questions. It didn't say why or come to a conclusion. That is why the questions kept coming up. After the kiss on stage, everything changed, but they still couldn't figure out what was going on. It took only that one moment for the miscommunication, sadness, and broken trust to spread through the music business. Other people like Lynda had to face the truth about what had happened and try to figure it all out. Gaither didn't say anything either. He had to speak up, explain, and make things right in the music world. Everyone would always remember Gaither's kiss on stage as a moment stuck in time that no one could fully understand. Gaither's kiss on stage wasn't the end of the storm, but in the days that followed, it felt like it was. As the effects of that one moment began to spread, everyone in the world paid close attention. The question that kept coming up was why Gaither did what he did. People who knew Gaither and his fans tried to figure out what had happened. There was more going on that night than just a kiss. It was about trust, loyalty, and how hard it is to keep your private life secret in public. Gaither was always known for making people laugh and feel like they were a part of something special when he was on stage. He had slowly built a picture of himself as a singer who worked hard and wanted to become famous over the years. But that picture was now coming apart. A lot of people in the music business didn't know what to do about it. People in the band who had been together for a long time tried to act like they always did, but it was clear that how they talked to Gaither after the kiss was different. They felt like something was wrong all the time, and it showed in what they did. The music had been bad and clean before, but now it felt heavy and tense in a way that words couldn't describe. The media spoke out the most after the event. Everyone in the news talked about the event around the clock, 7 days a week. Some thought the kiss was just for attention. while others thought it was a deeper sign of Gaither's personal problems. I wasn't sure if it was an act of defiance or a cry for help at that moment. Did it show that the stress of being famous had finally given way? As they flew overhead, the media seemed more interested in making a story than in finding out why something happened. Some of the headlines said things like public outrage over Gaither's kiss and a bold move or a cry for attention. A lot of people talked about the kiss and what they thought it meant for his future, his job, and his personal life. The news didn't just talk about the kiss, though. They also looked at Gaither's past comments, his relationships with other musicians, and how he worked with his fans. Soon they began to paint a picture of a man who had been hiding for years. This man was the ideal artist, the ideal role model, and the ideal person. When someone had worked so hard to look their best, how could they then do something so shocking? Was it a sign that they were lying? Could people really believe the man who made the music? At the same time, Gaither's family was having a hard time. They were so happy for him when he became famous, but now they were hurt and confused. They had seen their son fight for success and attention when he was younger. They had been there for him through good times and bad, but now they were on the other side of his public fall. They didn't know what to think. The fact that they didn't talk and what he was doing was kept a secret made his sister, who was there for him, feel guilty. After that one kiss, nothing good was going to happen in the family. No one could have imagined that something so small could destroy the life they had all worked so hard to create. At first, Lynda tried to play down what was going on. She was sure that this was an event that would not happen again and that everything would be fine after the dust settled. However, she began to feel the effects of the media storm as it went on. Gaither had always had someone by his side to help him get through tough times. That wasn't like this. She was no longer sure what she was standing next to. They were worried about the trust that had grown between them over the years. Did she know the same person who kissed someone else on stage? There were many things she began to doubt, such as her marriage, her role in his work, and her place in the world. She wasn't sure she could give the right answer. On the other hand, the public was split. Some Gaither fans stood up for him and said that what he did was a brave way to express himself. Different fans were shocked and couldn't make the connection between the Gaither they liked and the person they saw. On social media, people said nice things and accused others of betrayal back and forth. On Twitter and Instagram, some of his friends stood up for him and called out the hypocrites who thought famous people should always be perfect. Some people were shocked, though, and said that the kiss changed how they thought of Gaither. It seemed strange that someone who was always a good example could turn into someone they didn't know. It hurt them a lot that he broke their trust with his story and songs. They couldn't get rid of that feeling. There were critics all the time. Some well-known people in the movie business spoke out in support of the cause, while others spoke out against it. Artists who had worked with Gaither were watchful about what they said. Others were more direct and asked him why he was doing what he was doing. Some were nice and said they were worried about his health. The people in the company began to guess what this would mean for his future. Could he still put on a show? Would his friends still support him? Was Gaither's career over for good, or could he get it back? Because of that, many things happened. Gaither used to have a great job that didn't look like it would go anywhere. Not as many concerts were held and record sales started to go down. In the music business, there had been many events like this before, but this one felt different. It wasn't just a PR mistake or something that happened for a short time. Gaither's success was built on being honest and earning people's trust. In business, there were more rumors. Was he not telling the truth? Had he built his whole job on bad ideas? The world wouldn't forgive him. Did he really feel hurt, or did he use his fame to get what he wanted? As the weeks went by, Gaither's silence made things even stranger. He didn't say sorry or give an answer, and he didn't deal with his growing worries. Press and fans were eager for answers when he wouldn't talk, but all he would do was ask more questions. Does he really believe this is a mistake, or did he plan it all along? He should have admitted fault if he had done something wrong. It was clear that the problems that Kiss had caused would not go away quickly. After this, no one would ever think of Gaither the same way again. A lot of people were interested in the story at first, but now it seemed like a tragedy, a lesson in how one mistake can ruin your reputation.